All right, I think everything should be going. Welcome to the podcast, Ryan.
Thanks.
So, let's talk Mazda.
Yeah.
I hear you're kind of the king of Mazda.
Maybe in this area.
You were really like the inspiration behind this show. Like, seriously. It's like I wanted to talk to people with Mazdas, and you were the first person to come to mind. Because you have, what, 9?
I currently own 9. I'm only keeping 7 of them.
Only keeping 7? Why are you cutting down the fleet?
I have a parts car.
The parts are exciting, and then this tribute that's hanging over your left shoulder.
Yeah.
So let's get right into it. What are we seeing in front of?
This is my 93 AutoZam AZ1. It's the Mazda Speed version. Mazda made 4,392 of them. The Mazda Speed version, they made 400 of, 100 in each color. So this is 100 of the Siberia Blue AutoZam AZ1. It's a car I wanted to own since, Gran Turismo 2.
Is it in that game?
Yep.
I don't know.
It's the first one it was in. It was also in, I think, all the Gran Turismos since then. But it's just something I wanted to own. I really wanted to own my Cosmo first, which was also in Gran Turismo 2, and that was the only game that car was in. But I got the Cosmo, and then I figured I would might as well get these cars before they're legal. So I bought one and had to wait for a year and a few months to actually get it.
Which is that's a whole story.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah. So you mentioned it before, you also have the Cosmo, which is how I met you. You came up to a supercar Saturday in the Cosmo. Yeah. That's a really cool car.
Yep. So it's a 90 Unos Cosmo. It's the 3-rotor Type S, which is like the sports model. Had stiffer suspension, cloth interior. It was something I wanted to own since Gran Turismo 2 came out back in 2000. Wanted to own it so much that even named a cat after it. The cat is now 15 years old and lives with my parents still since I moved out. It was something I wanted to own for years, and had the chance to buy one that a guy was selling in Vancouver back in, I think, like 2009. Obviously wouldn't have been legal to have here. By the time I decided to just do it, the guy had sold the car like the week before. So then I kind of put it on the back burner, and then back in January of 2015, realized that those cars were soon to be coming legal, and started looking around, and got mine from Yahoo Auctions Japan, of all things, at a dealership in Hiroshima.
All right, so we had a little SD card error in the GoPro, but what were we talking about? The Cosmo?
Yeah, the Cosmo. I ended up finding one on Yahoo Auctions Japan, and went through an importer for it. Should probably remain nameless. I don't even think they're in business anymore.
Really?
It wasn't really a good situation with them. But I got my car anyway, bought it in March of 2015 before it was legal, being a November 1990 build with the 25-year rule and everything. So I got that car in December 2015. Really drove the wheels off of it since. Unfortunately, had a little issue with it back in December, so I can't drive it now. So, yeah.
So I usually start off, but I was so excited to talk about the AZ1. How'd you get started with Mazda? Owning 9 Mazdas, that doesn't sprout from anywhere. Yeah. Obviously, you like Mazda, not any other car.
Well, what started it was my dad was a Mazda Master Tech at the Mazda dealer I also work at. He started there back in April of 1982. He basically became the best at his trade. He was in national Mazda competitions for techs. He contributed to Mazda Tech Line, different procedures for repairs, everything. And he He was a RX-7 specialist, rotary specialist, did it all, could fix it all. And he retired back in October 2016. But that's basically what got me started with the Mazda brand, because growing up, he would bring cars home, and I was always around the Mazdas. I would go up to the dealership and hang out with him while he worked as a kid. He did side work in my parents' garage, and even from the time I was a toddler, my brother and I, he would lay out a moving blanket, and we would sit on a moving blanket under a car on jack stands as he's, replacing a transmission or doing whatever he's doing. And he would bring home, different, memorabilia and stuff like that. And I don't really know why it was only Mazda for me, because it wasn't like I was only around those cars, but it just made sense. It was just the cars I liked. And it became kind of out of control, as it were. I started going through magazines and cutting out articles and print ads, collecting posters, and my bedroom at my parents' house, there was no open wall space. It was just all Mazda stuff.
Yeah.
And then every video game I got heavily into Gran Turismo games from the first one. And I would see how far I could play through the game with just using Mazdas. And, even if they were slower than the other cars, and if there were better cars to use for races, I just always would go for the Mazda.
Yeah.
And then when I got old enough to drive, I drove my dad's 88 323 hatchback, which I actually bought new from my dealership by one of my uncles, and we bought it from him when the Protege came out, and he bought a Protege from us. So that was the first car I ever drove. That was actually the third car I owned. I bought it from my dad.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's what we were talking about earlier?
No, this was the hatchback.
Oh, different one. Okay.
Different one. It was a hatchback. It was just a what they call a 323 SE hatchback, which was kind of optioned as a base model car. My dad actually put the 323 LX alloy wheels on it. He put the LX seats in it. Did a lot of upgrading to it even before I got to it. And it was just an automatic 1.6 liter single overhead cam. It was rated 82 horsepower. It was kind of lightweight, but it was a very buzzy economy car. Yeah. Didn't really get good gas mileage because you had to have your foot in it everywhere to feel like you were getting on the highway.
Yeah.
And as a new kid with a new license, I would drive the wheels off of it and do a lot of stuff in it I shouldn't have done, which didn't really seem to hurt it any. But then got in an accident with it back in September 2003. I got T-boned. We gave it to one of our body shop guys to fix on the side. So while that car was down, ended up buying my 94 Protege. And,
which is right here, right?
Yeah, which is the one right next to us. And bought it. It's 94 LX. Has the 1.8 liter BP twin cam in it, which is the same engine that they later put in the Miata. It was in these cars first from 1990. Basically started fixing it up. Little stuff that was wrong with it when I bought it. Then started modifying it. Different wheels, different suspension, ended up doing a Familia GTX BP turbo engine swap, and have a fair amount of work into it, but body-wise, besides the front and rear bumpers are from Japan and the rear trunk piece is from New Zealand, it's body-wise, it's stock, it's all original paint.
I was just about to ask, I was looking at it, and
yeah,
it's actually really nice paint for being original.
Yeah, it's in really good shape. There's 182,000 miles on the body now.
And you really wouldn't guess it. Looking at it. I'm looking at your fender wells right now. It's really nice.
There's one spot of rust on it, which is on it's on the other side dog leg. There's also a little bit of rust on the front strut towers. But it's not really going to get any worse. The car has been garage kept for almost 7 years now, and it doesn't see rain or snow or salty roads or anything like that. I actually probably only wash it maybe once or twice a year, just keep it clean, dust it off, yeah, cars last a lot longer and they'll get rusty when you don't get them wet.
Yeah. So what about, it's probably in view, the red RX-8 back there? What's the story behind that one?
So the red RX-8 is a 2006 Shinka special edition. They made 1,500 2006 Shinkas. Most people don't know about the 06 Shinka. They know the 05 because the 05s were all black cherry mica, which is like a purple color.
I really like that color, actually.
Yeah.
I've heard people dislike it, but I think it's a cool color.
It's a great color when they're shined up. The problem is that paint it seems to have had a defect in it, or the clear coat or whatever, and I see a lot of them with clear coat issues, where the clear coat's faded on them, flaking off and stuff like that. They didn't seem to hold up. Now those cars, they made 2,150 of them. And basically, this is the same as the 06, with the exception of the seats on those cars are a solid leather seat. On the 06 Shinka, they have leather bolsters with Alcantara centers.
Really?
Which is like a suede.
Yeah.
And it really holds you in. They also seem to hold up a lot better for like wear and tear and everything. So they made 1,500 of the 06 Shinkas with 4 different colors. There was white, gray, and black, which you could get on any RX-8 during that, like the 06 model year, and other years actually. But the copper red was specific to the 06 Shinka. They made 765 copper reds total, 486 with a manual, and I actually own 2 of them. Because my parts car is identical to that car, with the exception of it was rear-ended by, I think it was an F-250, and so the back, from the back edge of the rear doors to the back, is demolished.
Wait, what about the silver RX-8 then? Didn't you have a silver one?
Yes, so I had a silver one, which was my 04 RX-8. It was a Grand Touring that I bought in summer 2012. It was on Craigslist, needed an engine. The guy was asking $2,000 for it. It was kind of a weird thing. He said that it didn't have a title, but he could get a title for it. And so I'm like, if he can get a title, I can buy the car from him. At that time, to see an RX-8 that was a complete car, wasn't wrecked or anything, for anywhere near $2,000 was kind of, crazy. So I figured I'd jump on it. So I messaged him and asked him, what's going on with the title, and he said, he would have to go to Jefferson City, state capital, to get the title straightened out, but he could do it and it wouldn't be a big deal. Went out, looked at the car, looked like an RX-8 to me, had some pretty bad racing stripes on it that were painted on the hood and the front bumper, but they were vinyl on the roof and the trunk lid. But I figured it's fixable stuff.
Yeah. The
car was there, it didn't have rust on it, it was decent. 124,000 miles, engine was bad, so in negotiating with him, I told him I'd give him $500 and take the car. He gets me a title. I give him another $1,500, not a problem. He goes, I can't do that. You give me $2,000 and take the car, and I'll get you a title. Or you can give me $500 and I'll keep the car and I'll get you a title, and then we'll figure it out after that. And I said, no, $500, I take the car. I want you to have some incentive to get me a title. And then he threw out $800. And at that point I knew there's no way I'm getting a title for this car. But I figured, worst case scenario, I could part the car out, definitely make more money doing it that way. Yeah. But I did want to have one of those cars because I was around for the entire model run of that car, working at my dealership since April of 04. And even before I worked there, I went up to see my dad one day, and he gave me a ride in a brand new RX-8 that he was doing the PDI inspection on. And there was just something in my head told me I need to own one of these cars at some point. And so I figured, here's a car, I can put an engine in it and get back on the road, enjoy it. It wasn't in the best of shape, so I figured I can get into drifting or whatever I want to do with it, throw it around on the back roads and not really care that a whole lot about it, which is kind of a weird thing for me. I try to keep all my cars really nice and not tear them up, and not, I worry about stuff happening to them, and I figured here's a car that I can always get another one of. And so ended up getting a junkyard engine for it. Had a coolant seal problem, so didn't realize that until we put it in, got it running, fired right up, got about 60 miles out of it before it blew coolant and oil out the radiator cap. And then I just decided I'm going to get an engine from Mazda rebuild, and I put that engine in it. Well, as far as the title went, I sat on the car for about 3 months. The guy would email me every once in a while asking me to put an engine in the car and give him the car back so that he could get me a title for it and get it inspected and stuff, which was not going to happen. And so by the time I realized that that wasn't a possibility of getting a title that way from the guy, I, long story short, figured out a way around it and got myself a title and had my $800 RX-8. The guy messaged me once after that asking for the other $1,200 back for the car, which that wasn't going to happen either. So that was the end of that. Come to find out, that guy owned a dealership, little like car lot that he basically had an issue with taxes and supplying people with titles, and the state of Missouri shut him down. And that's how my car was actually there. Was one of the cars I was at his dealership at the time it was shut down. There was about a 2-week difference from the time he was shut down and the time I bought the car.
Jeez.
And so it worked out for me. Didn't really work out for him. But got myself an RX-8, and so got that car back on the road. I think that was January of 2013 when I finally got that thing on the road. And then my dad and I had to do an engine in it twice, but put the Mazda rebuild in it. Drove great. Did a cap delete and a K&N drop-in filter. Put down 203 wheel horsepower on the dyno with about 1,500 miles on it, which is a good number for an RX-8. Drifted it multiple times. I threw it around on the back roads. Had fun with it. And then in October of 2015, it and my house got hit by a stolen truck, and that was the end of that car. And so that car was totaled. Bought it back from insurance, pulled the engine out of it. But before that all happened, I decided that I liked the idea of owning an RX-8 enough to go out and buy another one. But I figured this time I'll do it right and I'll get a nice one. And since I got money back from insurance and I was in a better position otherwise and time had gone by, decided to look for something that was special. Wasn't really sure what I was going to find, but I was looking at specific colors and stuff like that. Realized that I could get an 06 Shinka in the copper red and have one of, a limited number of cars that was that color, which you don't find in like that. That color is really the rarest of the RX-8 colors in North America, except maybe the R3s might have had some, but too expensive for what it is. So I ended up traveling to Oklahoma City to pick that one up about 2 weeks after my silver one got totaled. That one had 99,000 miles on it. Engine had 20,000 miles on it. Runs great. Haven't really had to do anything major to it besides a clutch after the throwout bearing grenaded, which was kind of my fault. Knew it had a problem with the throwout bearing. Went back roading it, throwing the car around, and revving it out, and it grenaded, and I had to limp the car home.
Yeah. So we have one more Mazda to talk about, your pickup truck, which is currently in your basement.
Yeah. So, I mean, where else do you put a, 47-year-old Mazda?
Most people don't put them in their basements, but it's crazy that, like, it fit through the doorway.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, when I moved in, it wasn't really like I bought the house thinking I'm going to put a car in my basement.
Yeah.
It was more like I bought the house and realized sometime later that, hey, this opening's 72 inches and some Mazdas are less than that. And that the basement's not really what I would consider a living space. There's a fireplace there, but it's not. It's kind of a dark, I wouldn't say dark, but it's not like a warm area to be.
Right.
It's not like there, it's kind of below ground on two sides of it, and it's like a rec room of sorts. And so I figured, well, if I'm not really going to be down here, and nothing's going to be really down here, I might as well use it for car storage.
So what is the pickup truck then? It's a 1200?
Yeah, it's a 71 Mazda 1200. Mazda made those trucks obviously in Japan. It was mainly a truck for the Japanese market that Mazda just decided to bring over as part of their early lineup. Mazda came into North America in 1970, and those trucks were 71 only. They were actually never sold in this area. When Mazda first came into North America, they had dealerships on the West Coast and on the East Coast, but wasn't until 2-3 years later when dealerships started popping up in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
And
and we're in Missouri right now, which is pretty minimal.
Yeah, and so there was no Mazda dealer here until I think the first one was 74 or 75 or something like that. Yeah, and it wasn't my dealership. My dealership, Lufuse Mazda, was I think 1981 was when we opened as a Mazda dealer, and so it's a 71 1200. Mazda brought over 853 of them into North America. My truck came originally from a dealer in Georgia, and the original owner lived in Georgia. I actually have 2 pictures of my truck with the original owner when the guy that I bought it from bought it. And the guy that I bought it from lived in Columbia, Tennessee. He bought it from that guy back in, I think it was like 2009 or 2010. And this guy is into older Toyota trucks. I don't know how he got into contact with the original owner of mine, but he ended up talking to that guy, bought the truck from him, thinking that he was going to make it into a lowrider hot rod. When he first got the truck, he unloaded it off his trailer to roll it downhill into his storage unit or storage building, and then tested the brakes, which didn't work. And he ended up crashing into a couple of engines and ultimately the wall.
Wow.
So the front of it has some damage on it, but it's patinaed really well.
Yeah.
And because at the time when the guy that I bought it from bought it, the truck had been sitting for years on a pair of ramps with the back end up in the air, and the guy had started doing paint work to the bed sides and the hood, and so they're primer, but they're probably 20-something-year-old primer.
Yeah.
And the last time the truck was registered was in 1988. And as far as I can tell, that's the last time I was on the road before I bought it. So I came across it. Someone posted it to the Estel Rotaries Facebook page, saying that it would be a great truck for a rotary swap. It was just on Craigslist, and I saw it. I've been looking for really a B1600. I thought that was an obtainable truck.
Yeah.
They're around.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy that was actually in Georgia that had one, and kind of negotiating with him. It wasn't really the one I wanted. It was a later year one, so it had what I would consider the wrong Mazda emblems. It didn't have the pre-76 ones. It was a 76 truck, and so I wanted the older one. And but I was negotiating with that guy, and then my truck popped up, and I saw it, and I'm like, this is a 1200. This shouldn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
They all rusted out. I had seen one posted on the Mazda forums years ago that was basically sitting on a trailer and there was not much left of it. It was like almost not salvageable.
Yeah.
And so then I saw the pictures of mine and I'm like, this is a complete truck. The interior is all there. Everything is all there. And I kind of had to buy it for lack of better excuse for buying it. I just really wanted a vintage Mazda, and I wanted a pickup truck that I could use as a truck.
Yeah.
And I figured, here's a truck that has a lot of patina on it. I'm not going to worry about how the paint is on it. I don't have to worry about it, hauling anything in it. So I bought it from him back in August of 2013. Immediately, when I got it back, the guy said that he got it to fire up, but it was like a long time ago, and he knew that like the carb had to be rebuilt, and the truck needed work, and so he never really had it running. Some friends and my brother was over to help unload it off the truck. We poured gas in the carb and got it to fire up, and it ran, and that was good enough for me. And so we pushed it through my backyard. It was before this garage and everything was built, so we just pushed it through the grass, throw it in the basement. I sat in the basement from August 2013 till I got it back on the road in July of 15. I rebuilt the brakes, wheel cylinders, new brake shoes. It's 4-wheel drum, not powered either. It's sketchy to drive.
Yeah.
I did front wheel bearings. Had to do new wheel studs all around. They were all bent. The original owner put some Toyota truck wheels on it that were the wrong lug pattern, and just they're M10 wheel studs, where everything else, all these, like this car, this is M10 also, but everything else is M12, it's stronger. But then 10 wheel studs allowed the guy to put 5x114 wheels on a 5x100 truck, and he torqued them down and it bent them all. And I figured if I'm going to be driving this thing, I want it to be kind of safe. I'm going to be hauling stuff in it. I don't want to have a problem with it, so I'm going to do it the right way. So I drilled out all the wheel studs, put M12 wheel studs in it, and I run lug pattern adapters on it, and I still run those Toyota truck wheels. They're from the 70s, and I only had one original 1200 truck wheel, which is a 12-inch wheel. To find 12-inch tires in a usable size is pretty hard.
Yeah.
And I figured, might as well just keep the 14s on it and have a more drivable thing. So I had to do that. Rebuilt the carburetor with my dad. Replaced the radiator. Did all the since then I've done all the coolant hoses, water pump. Had to get the taillights working. It was a ground wire. Had to do some other wiring on it, alternator. But basically, it's a turnkey truck now. It doesn't like running when it's cold, so I haven't driven it for a few weeks. But I've hauled everything in it. It's out of view now. There's a 60-gallon air compressor in the corner of my garage. I'm
looking at it right now. You hauled that with that truck?
Straight up and down like that on a pallet. From St. Peters, Missouri, which is it was a good 15-mile drive or so. Not only that, but my dad was in the truck too. That truck is narrower than a Miata. It's about as long as my Protege that we're sitting next to. It's a small truck, 1.2 liters. Rated.
It's 1.2?
It's a 1.2 liter. Yeah, it's a 1200. It's 1169 cc. It's a push rod.
So essentially, it's the same displacement as a 12A then.
Yeah.
But not nearly the power.
Not nearly the power, because it's a push rod overhead cam engine. There's no tack. I don't know what it revs to. I don't think it has a rev limiter. It just does what it does and hope for the best. But it was rated 64 horsepower back in 1971. It does okay for what it is. It's a 4-speed manual. It does not like the highway at all. It'll run hot at highway speeds if driven long enough. And it's just, you can tell it's not, it was from a time when the high speed limit was 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Not everyone gets on the highway and tries doing 75, 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And so I avoid highway in it as much as I can. The brakes, you have to plan ahead. for stops, and so on the highway, it's not something that you want to have to plan ahead to stop. But other than that, it's been really great. I've had a few little issues with it, but everything doesn't cost a whole lot of money to keep it on the road. And I still run that Georgia plate on it from 1988 when it expired. And
hey, if it works, it works.
Yeah, put 1,600 miles on it or so since 2015. Yeah, I mean, I hauled air compressor in it. I've hauled a load of 18 bags of mulch, a load of 15 bags of mulch, wheels and tires and shelving units, and pretty much anything I need to haul. It does it. It's not always happy about it, but it does it, and it's really a unique driving experience. The ergonomics of it are not there. It hurts to drive. It's the seat is completely not supportive. The steering wheel is like in the wrong position. Like, it's just a rough thing to drive, but it's so bare bones, and it's like a raw driving experience. And that was the cheapest Mazda ever sold in North America.
Wow.
And so that's something that, you know, I'm gonna keep that truck forever. And I probably, you know, everyone asks me, well, are you gonna restore it? And I don't think I will. Just because I use it as a truck, and if I restore it, I'm not going to want to use it.
Yeah, that's true.
The thing I like about my cars is I like using my cars. They don't always sit in the garage. You know, I've never once trailered any of my cars to a car show or a car meet or an event or anything like that.
Like, we were tooling around in this thing today.
Yep.
We went out in the Protege.
Yeah.
I mean, you drive your cars.
Yep, I drive my cars.
I think that's important.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting ready to drive the AZ1 to North Carolina to the Deals Gap Rotary Rally. Really only because my Cosmo's down, and just took my RX-8 to the Deals Gap Rotary Rally in 2016. Don't feel like driving it again out there. I figured I'd drive the AZ1. It'd be more fun. It'd
definitely be unique, too. There's not going to be another one out there.
There's not going to be another one there.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I might have the first AZ1 that goes through Deals Gap.
Yeah, that's true.
And, you know, it's just one of those things. Like, I enjoy stuff like that. So
one last question.
Yeah.
I ask all my guests.
Yeah.
No money limit, no limitations. Your dream Mazda build. Would it be a 13BT AZ1, or would it be a 4-rotor? What are you thinking?
No,
money is
out
no
of the
object. Situation. Yeah. Or time. Because I know you build your cars.
Yeah.
Say it's just done.
It's just done. Off the top of my head, I've been throwing around the idea of doing something with my RX-8. The Renesis is just, I feel like it's not enough for a car that has the handling that the RX-8 has, and that has the appearance of it. So I've been throwing around the idea of putting a different engine in that. Now, I'm obviously limited by money and resources and my own ability. I don't fab stuff. I have to have someone else do that. I try to do everything else, but at the same time, I'm limited by time and all that. I would say just done. I would not mind having I think a naturally aspirated 3-rotor, maybe even a 4-rotor in an RX-8 would be a really cool thing to have. I mean, there's people that do 3-rotor swaps now and stuff in those. But I think something in that car that would naturally aspirated in a reliable form make 400, 450 at the wheels would be a blast to drive. So that would be that'd be my thing. I mean, obviously I want an FD also.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe a couple of years down the road, I'm sure we'll have an FD coming out.
I think so.
I think it's the next one on the list.
It's pretty much the next thing on the list.
What else would it be? Just out of my own curiosity of like your next.
Well, the other thing, because I look at what I have and what I don't have. The things I have, I mean, like, you know, obviously I have one of these. I have a lot of like show stuff. I have a lot of very drivable stuff, and you know, they overlap and everything. I don't have a vintage Mazda that I can put in like car shows. I don't have something that's like a fully restored, unmolested, like bone stock, you know, fully restored or all original.
Yeah.
Older Mazda,
Yeah.
and there's not that I would want like a rotary car, like an RX-2 or RX-3 or something like that, as one of those. But there are cars that are in Japan that are that would fit the bill, like a first-gen Mazda Carol. Would be a great car to have.
Yeah.
And I am very fond of small cars like this, and you have cars from that era that are even smaller than this.
Yeah.
And that to me is like interesting, and from a functional standpoint, that means I could fit it in a garage somewhere.
Yeah, because I was looking at this and we were talking about this earlier. The size of this AZ1, the GoPro kind of distorts sizes, but
yeah,
you could fit probably a good amount of these. 4 or 5, very comfortably in this garage.
Well, and the thing is, I'm looking at the space, because I've never pulled this car as far forward. It's almost up to my workbench there. This garage is 20 feet front to back. This is almost up to that. And I'm looking at the space behind this to the garage door, and I could fit one sideways here.
Yeah, we could park one right like this.
Yeah, I could fit one in here, an additional car, and to me that's helpful because I'm out of garage space.
You're using your basement as a garage,
I'm using my
so
basement,
I'd say...
And I have 3 cars in my other garage.
Yeah, oh yeah, you have the Miata pushed up against the wall, the
and
supercharged Miata.
Yeah, and so yeah, I'm out of space unless I put another lift in here, and I'm not at that point yet.
You could probably stack 3 of them on a lift high.
Yeah, put them
do like
next to each
a
other.
Japanese, what is it, those like parking garages where like it brings your car to you? Just get one of those.
That's what I need.
Yeah, and then you can just fill it with AZ1s and Carols and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm at the point now. Since I just got this car, I've only had this for 2.5 weeks after the long wait. But I'm at the point now where I need to get caught up on projects before I pick up anything else or think about picking up anything else. So I'm hoping it's going to be a few years down the road before I do anything. But I look almost daily. Yeah. I look at Craigslist. I look at eBay. And if the
deal comes up.
Yeah. I still look at Yahoo Auctions Japan. I still look at the auctions in Japan. I look at Car Sensor, all the different Japanese sites, and I see cars, and I'm like, while waiting for this car and waiting for my Cosmo, I've asked importers, like just friends that I've been talking to online for years. I inquire about cars just to see what they say about it, like how much it would run, or if they think would be something that would be worthwhile picking up given the condition and where it is and all that. And luckily, it hasn't quite worked out that way yet. I almost picked up a SA RX-7 a couple months ago that a guy posted on Craigslist in St. Louis.
Was it the yellow one?
The blue one.
Oh, okay.
There's a blue one. That one. The guy's on STL Rotaries. It worked out for the best, but he posted it originally. The car had been sitting for a while. It didn't run. He didn't know what was wrong with it. Just kind of wanted to get rid of it, and he was asking $1,000 for it. And I mean, it looked good. Like the paint looked decent. It had like some decals on it, like old-timey pinstripe and stuff like that I would have taken off, and that all looked like it was dealer installed, stuff. But he posted it on there. I messaged him, and well, I should say I contacted my brother first, because I'm at the point now with being limited on space and everything. When a deal comes up like that, I want to see if I could put it somewhere else. And so I contacted my brother, and I'm like, hey, check out this RX-7. I really want it. Could I throw this in your shop for some period of time, just in a corner, until I can get to it? And he, unfortunately, we kind of enable each other to do stuff like that. And so he's like, absolutely. He's like, I'll even go in half on it. If you decide you don't want anymore, I'll buy the rest of it from you. You can buy it from me. We can work this out. Getting the car is the important thing. And because I mean, in my collection, I don't have an RX-7. I had a 90 GXL that was a pretty rough car. I bought it, put a clutch in it, and turned around and sold it. But it would be nice to have what I would consider it's a vintage rotary car. And it was in a quality that was like a show quality. I could have got it to that point without having to do a full repaint and stuff like that. And I messaged the guy, told him I was interested in it. He was in Illinois. It was kind of a drive, but was trying to figure out when I could go see it. It was going to be the following weekend, and asked him, well, what are you doing on Saturday? He goes, yeah, you can come out and check it out on Saturday. I'm going to look at a few things on it. And at that point, I knew this guy didn't really want to get rid of this car. Yeah. Like there was something here, because otherwise he would have just said, yeah, come on out and look at it. But the fact that he told me he's going to look at the car and he's going to try to work on it kind of, it made me think.
It's kind of a sign.
And so what ended up happening was he didn't reply to me all day until that night. And that night, he messaged me and he said, I just about got it running. I think I'm going to keep the car so that I can have my son drive the car, and it's a father-son thing. And I told him, I'm like, fully understand it. I almost want to thank you for doing this so I didn't have to buy it.
Yeah.
He started, I told him about the STL Rotaries page. He joined, and he actually did get the car running. He had help from one of the other local guys here. And him and his son are enjoying the car, and to me that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy that was the fate of the car. That if I didn't have it, at least he's still enjoying it with his son, and someone didn't get it to turn around and do an engine swap or drift it into a wall or whatever. Yeah. So
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you guys for watching.
There goes a sight from my soul.